New Zealand has been asked if they want a referendum on the treaty. Let's have a listen and a look as to what New Zealand
Who's asked that so I can slap them?
Newshub. You want to slap them?
God damn it.
Back home now, and as we all wait for the special votes to be counted to confirm the final election result, parties are staying tight-lipped about government negotiations.
One major issue is whether National will accommodate ACT's bottom line of a referendum on the Treaty of Waitangi. As political editor Jenna Lynch reports, our own poll shows it's not a popular option.
The Christopher craze is taking off. At least at Cockle Bay Primary School.
Very special school because I went to the school for 4 years.
Christopher Luxon chose his old stomping ground as stop one on his victory lap. His big blue thank you to New Zealand.
Oh, here we are in the house. Thank you so much.
As we wait in limbo land.
We are using that time to build relationship and also to progress the arrangements with respective parties.
Keeping up.
I got to say, actually, fair enough to Christopher Luxon. He doesn't want to debate all the negotiations in front of the camera. And I think that's frustrating for the media because that's how they get their headlines. But I kind of think, fair enough, if that's how you want to do it, all behind the scenes and just make an announcement, good on you. You know, go for it. Do it that way. See how it works out. I don't think he'll be quite as easy keeping old Winston and David Seymour quiet. But if that's the way he wants to play it, I saw him with Ryan Bridge earlier in the week, basically saying Luxon was actually apologetic. Going, look, I'm sorry. I know that this is not going to be interesting for you guys, but we're just not going to talk about it in public until it's done. And I'm like, fair enough. If that's the way you want to do it. Fair enough.
Yeah, I get it. Even I can't bag on him for that. Like, why would you negotiate in public? It's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get into it.
Right, we'll get to the story and we'll find out what New Zealand said about a treaty referendum.
Don't disappoint me again, New Zealand.
Negotiations.
We won't be talking about that because essentially we want to be able to do that in goodwill and build good faith and good strong relationships so we deliver strong and stable government.
What's up for negotiation is not up for conversation.
We've had very productive processes that have allowed us to get closer to the result that New Zealanders want, and that is a stable, united government.
Yeah. 9%. Just, I mean, you've won yourself a way through, but the result that New Zealanders want, 9. Just remember, 9%. Fourth-sized party in New Zealand, 9%. Just, I don't know how much you can speak on behalf of New Zealanders there, Mr. Seymour.
ACT leader David Seymour has a policy to rewrite the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi and put it to a referendum. He's made it a top policy priority for forming a government. Christopher Luxon has called the idea divisive.
The discussion's not divisive, the current policy direction is divisive, and the way to heal that division is open, honest discussion.
We asked in our latest
Open the
research
wound
poll, do you think New Zealand should
idiot.
have a referendum on the treaty? A majority, 55.8% said no.
Good.
While just
So there you go. I mean, that's actually a pretty good place to maybe leave this conversation. Who really cares about the rest of it? I mean, with respect to Newshub's polls, they didn't do a very good job on the political one of being accurate, but that's a pretty big margin of error. That 1/3 of New Zealanders think that we should have one, and the rest either don't know or don't want one. So if there was one, as long as people participated, I don't know if it would get particularly much traction, which was sort of my thoughts anyway, because I can't imagine many, obviously the older you go with the New Zealand population, the more likely it is for someone to want this because they don't get it or don't want to get it, and the younger, the less likely. Doesn't mean that people under 30 are all going to say that they don't want one. But you'd have a sliding scale, like of the older people are, the more likely they'd have it, the younger, and that would cross over, wouldn't it? On the way, or would it be the other way? Whichever way it is, it'd cross over. And probably Gen X would be the ones in the middle that'd be 50-50. And remember, this was the first election, and this is another reason that the results were interesting, that boomers were not the majority voting bloc. They were actually a minority voting bloc, but didn't seem to matter because they participated. But anyway, so there you go. Only 1/3 of New Zealanders have said that they'd be up for a treaty referendum. What are your thoughts, Joey?
First thought is I cast my mind back to a Women's Day or a Women's Weekly article that David Seymour gave, where he said that he would give it all up for love. I know we've got a few ladies in the chat. one of you jump on that grenade. Take him out of the game.
To take one.
Come
Take
on.
one for the team. Take one for the team of 5 million.
Just
I will do.
at least you know he can
anything
twerk,
for love,
kind of.
but I won't do that. That'll be the song. Won't it? I won't do that.
Oh, dudes, I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know how he
Somebody.
swings.
Um,
See more.
But look, I think the very act of putting something like the Treaty of Waitangi up for a referendum would be a horrifically bad idea.
Yep.
Horrifically bad.
And no matter how they spell it, the principle, it's not the treaty, it's the principles of, yeah, well, that's because what you're saying is the way it's currently being interpreted is wrong. And the principles meaning you want to get it interpreted a different way, which would basically make it null and void. So it's not the treaty. We just want to change the principles to make it null and void. That's what we want to do. So yes, it's about the treaty.
It's fiddling. Like I said the other night, it's just him weaseling around the edges. It's just so weaselly.
Are you sure did you nail that one down? It's just weaseling around the edges. It's just so
like a weaselly weasel doing
like
weasel things.
Weaselly weasel.